us on the program. Let's move on. In all this tariff chaos, the question remains, which direction is the India-US relationship heading? Many experts have repeatedly warned India against any retaliatory measures as they fear this would hurt the relationship further. There is another set of experts making a case that India-US story is still strong and that stems from strong people-to-people ties. As per Indiaspora, over 5 million Indian Americans contribute meaningfully to the US economy, serving as a living bridge between the world's two largest democracies. But this people-to-people ties don't end there. Close to 3 lakh Indian communities contribute over $8 billion annually to the US economy, creating direct and indirect jobs in the US. In the last 2 decades, leaders on both sides have ensured that they bolster ties across different areas. And Trump was one of them in his first tenure, when he even made it a point to visit India. Coming back to his second tenure, Prime Minister Modi made it a point to visit Trump within weeks after he took over office as the president. And during that visit, both nations launched a decade-long strategy to deepen ties. During that visit, the leaders launched new initiatives, the US-India Compact, which means catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerating commerce and technology for the 21st century. Both sides were even set to sign a new 10-year framework for a major defense partnership. Also unveiling a new bilateral trade goal, Mission 500, aiming to more than double total bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. But in all this trade war, it needs to be seen what happens to this trade target. Also, the negotiations on the reciprocal defense procurement agreement, which are set to open in 2025, may be clouded by trade talks too. Let's go across to Sanjeev Joshipura, who is from Indiaspora, the executive director of Indiaspora, joining us. Sanjeev, thank you for being with us. As a prominent member and as a face of the Indian diaspora in the US, how concerned are you by the current relations?
Thank you for having me, Parikshit. It is definitely, as we said in our statement, a temporary setback. There's no question that relations are a little bit more tense now than they have been in the recent past. But our perspective at Indiaspora is that the relationship between the two countries is very broad-based across a variety of different realms and sectors. It is also economically and strategically an important partnership for both countries as we move forward. And past experience would suggest, at least over the last 15 or 20 years, that even if there have been temporary setbacks, that the overall trajectory, as befits the aspirations of the people of both the nations, is on an upward swing. And we are optimistic that that will continue in the future, notwithstanding the temporary setback. We also believe that continuing negotiations between the two countries will ultimately fructify in a mutually satisfactory result.
Right. What do you think is holding back the two nations from reaching a deal? India has drawn its red lines. As a member of the Indian diaspora, somebody who lives and works and has literally grown up in the US, what would be your expectation from India?
It's not for me. There are trade negotiating experts on both sides, the American side and the Indian side, who know what their red lines are. They are obviously aware of the sectoral impacts of the tariffs. As much as this is an economic question, it is also obviously a political question. It's a question of political economy on both sides. Far be it from me to advise the governmental leaders as to, what sectors they should or should not cut tariffs on, or what sectors they should or should not open. I think there are people that have studied that issue far more than I have to be able to comment on that knowledgeably. But the one thing I will say is that I do believe that the relationship that has been cultivated between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi over the past several years, including in the first term of Donald Trump, I believe can help reach this negotiation to a salutary conclusion from both sides. I do think that if at the leader level, at the cabinet level, if both sides were to talk and understand each other a little bit more, and understand the broader geopolitical context and the strategic picture, even beyond sectoral tariffs, I think that would help reach a mutually satisfactory conclusion.
Do you believe, Sanjeev, because this is a feeling many have in India, are there people in the Trump administration, in his inner circle, who understand India well or the importance of India-US ties in the long term? Because Trump in his second term is more determined to get the trade part of the relationship right. He's looking at it completely from a business view, but currently in the Trump cabinet, in his White House inner circle, is there someone who is a supporter of India-US relations?
President Trump ran on trade and tariffs being one of the major issues. So it doesn't come as a surprise that President Trump is indeed focusing on that. But to answer your question, Parikshit, about the understanding of India among the United States government, there are two things I'd like to point out here. One is that over successive administrations in the past 25 or so years, there has been a growing trend of a greater understanding, not just of India and the nuances of India, but also of the strategic and economic importance of this relationship, the importance that the diaspora brings, the people-to-people ties between the two countries. That understanding in government across party lines in America has been growing over the past 20-25 years. There are lots of Indian American officials that are at senior levels in government. Now, having said that, I do think that a greater level of understanding about India is required not just at the bureaucratic expert level, but also at the political appointee level. That is something that I think both countries would benefit from if America had a little bit more of that at the political appointee level. There is plenty of that at the bureaucratic level. I think there are tremendous experts at the Commerce Department, at the State Department, at the Trade Representative's Office, and so on and so forth, that really study and understand and have experience with India. I do think that, some political appointees definitely have that in the Trump administration. Personally, as a preference, I would hope and I would like to see it a little bit more broad-based across the administration.
Right. Thanks very much, Sanjeev, for joining us. And one important point is that we still don't have a US ambassador to India, which would be very critical at this point in time. We have an Indian ambassador to the US, Vinay Quatra, but we don't have a US ambassador to India. Thank you very much, Sanjeev, for joining us with those very important views. We're taking a short break, but don't go anywhere. We continue our focus on India-US ties with former Assistant USTR Mark Scott on the other side.